Good morning, everyone. Yet another fascinating game from Leela Chess. This is against Equinox. Equinox playing white here, 3.30. An estimated rating of 3255. Leela Chess's ID here is 473. Okay, let's see this game. E4, E6, D4, D5, knight C3. We have the Winawer variation. And the quirky move, Bishop F8, is forced on Leela to play this. So you might think, well, this is going to be punished, isn't it, really badly against the top engine. Now, actually there is the move B6, which is slightly more popular, by the way, and this has even been used by Vasily Ivanchuk successfully against Garry Kasparov, maybe creating a bit too much outrage. That was a brilliant game in its own right, which is annotated on the channel. I'll give a link in the comments and description actually to that game as well. So there's been some brilliant games with B6, especially the Ivanchuk game. So anyway, this is just volunteering Bishop F8 without even waiting for Queen G4. Now, you might think, well, what is the point of this, in fact? Basically, white has compromised the F5 square, and black can still hit the centre hard, and white is not in a position to play C3. The knight's in front of the pawn. So black's kind of proving that, hold on a sec, this is a comfortable position, isn't it? If time isn't such a factor, because it's quite a close position. So we see knight F3, C5, Bishop D3, and now another interesting move, C4. So it looks as though a kind of beginner, in a way, is playing with the black pieces, because this releases the tension, doesn't it? The thing is, it's fine though. It seems fine in terms of there's an absence of tactics which can really blow black off the board here. The bishop's actually being driven away from a potentially useful square as well. White castles A6 just with the idea of B5. So yeah, only one piece developed and just moving all these pawns. B3, B5. We see Queen E1, Bishop B4. Now we see A3. The bishop goes to A5, B4, Bishop B6, putting pressure on D4. That's protected. Knight G E7, Queen D2, Bishop D7, and now white plays Knight H4. With the F5 square kind of securely under black's lock and key, it would take some time for something like F4, F5. It would need some preparation, and with the king here, it's quite a way off. Black actually castles here, and white plays the artificial looking move, Bishop H5. If you look at the Ivanchuk-Kasparov game, Kasparov also played a similar sort of move which didn't seem to do much. Something like Bishop B5 and was giving black some extra tempo. Here, after Knight G6, I'm not sure what this Bishop H5 has achieved. Knight takes G6, HG, the bishop drops to G4, and now with tempo, F5 is played. EF, G takes F. Now structurally, the opportunities now exist for using the H file. We can see that as human beings. We can even drop the bishop back to C7. We can have a rook on H8. If you dream up a position with the new pawn structure, there are opportunities here. It looks very comfortable. This pawn is not a problem just yet. And in fact, okay, after rook Fe1, the king actually comes to support it. H3, rook H8. It's starting to look really nice for black. Rook A B1, bishop C7, rook B D1, knight E7. White's play is fairly planless, it seems, at the moment. Bishop F4, G5. If white exchanges off the dark square bishops, the knight's simply going to come to F4 later, as an example. So actually, white just played Bishop E3. It looks as though white hasn't been doing anything. There might even, let's look at this concretely though, as well. Okay, on Bishop takes C7, here's a variation example, a very concrete variation. It's not just about Knight G6 to F4, because sometimes there's also tactics potentially to blow black to bits. But black could be really careful here and keep the knight on E7 and play like this, with even F5 for G4. This might actually be more to the point as well. So this kind of situation is going to be very pleasant for black, where G4 is the strategic break, which would cause a crushing win of a piece sometimes. So yeah, white's just changed its mind, it seems, with this bishop e3. So we see now queen f8, queen e2, f5, check, king f6, which protects the g5 pawn, bishop c1, queen h6, which evicts the bishop back. So bishop d6 now. Yeah, black is well poised here. We see king f1, king f7, king g1, rook ag8, just building up for this break, g4 break. King f1. We see queen g6 unpinning the pawn, so ready for g4 now. And white gets desperate here. White concedes now some material. So the threat is g4. White plays g3. So we have rook takes h3, bishop g2, rook h2. This isn't very healthy at all, this position for white. Queen f3, g4, queen e3. And now here, this is really quite crushing now, this next move, if you can guess it. Black to play. Logical informatic as well. Okay, f4, vacating f5 for the knight. So at the cost of a pawn, but look at this, knight f5, which means like things like knight h4 are on the cards as well, and also g3. In fact, queen d2, now g3 is played. Yes, this is looking absolutely horrendous now. f3 is played. If, for example, here, then this is just devastation, this position. White's going to be losing that bishop and getting mated soon after. So it's already pretty devastating, this position. Queen h5, rook e5 was played. There's a big threat here of knight takes d4. For example, if bishop b2, then knight takes d4 deflects the queen away from the bishop. So queen takes, there's, can you guess? Rook takes g2. So for example, like this is absolutely murderous. So basically, white gives up the exchange. That is taken. And now after d takes, bishop c6, preparing to open up with d4. Knight a2, d4 now, opening up the bishop on f3. And white desperately just gives up the queen. Queen takes d4. It's absolute desperation. Absolutely, the game adjudicated here. It could carry on with rook takes g2, but there's no point. Yeah, okay. It would be a swift finish actually on this occasion. So this was an interesting, provocative game with the bishop f8, which is a rarer bird than b6. So if you want a surprise weapon for over the board chess in the Winawer, yeah, maybe give either b6 or bishop f8 a punt. It worked out very, very well here because white did seem to play in a very planless manner, as a lot of engines do seem to play. But Leela is there working on the pawn breaks and adjusting to the opportunities of the pawn structure really well, it seems. So there was no real tactical issues for black in this game, despite the highly provocative retreat. Okay, I hope you got something from this. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.